Welcome to Freeform Radio on the Freeform Network. You can follow us at Facebook at Freeform Network, on Twitter at FFR Podcast. And remember to send your questions and suggestions to ffnquestions@gmail.com. That's where you can find interact with us the most, besides on our social pages or anything you guys recommend. Stories, some experiences you have, send them there. We appreciate it and we love reading them. And we'd like to discuss them on when we record. This is again Freeform Radio. We got Danny.
Yes, sir. Hanging back here. It's Sunday. I'll probably eat some wings today, even though there's no football, but it's been a while.
We got Noel.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Sorry for the stuffed up nose here. We're dealing with allergies now that we're getting to spring here in Chicago, but glad to be here. Glad to be here with all of you.
And it's all good, Andy, and the gang's all back together. At the time of the recording, we're kind of going through a little bit of a cold spell. Someone told me it's spring, but it didn't feel like that this past week. And so we're all here, and I guess Danny has been watching a movie here, which I've seen like a billion times when I had cable. The movie's about a Motown group. Let us know, Danny, what you think, or do you love it as much as I do?
Yeah, so I watched the Temptation movie. I'm a Temptations fan. I think most people, or at least whoever likes Motown, is a Temptations fan. And yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen the movie. I know you've mentioned it before just in our conversations, but I've never had a chance to really watch it. And so, yeah, I tuned it up this past week. Me and Alana watched it, and it was a pretty good movie, man. It was long. I didn't expect it to be that long. It was actually like a two-part series, or at least the way this network broke it down. It was two um, separate episodes. One was like 1.5, and the other one was 1.5.
Yeah,
But
it's a miniseries.
All right, so that's usually how it is. All right, I
Yeah.
thought it was kind of weird. I'm like, oh, that's weird that they separated it. Must have been like a made-for-TV movie or
Yeah, it
something.
originally aired on NBC, and it was like a two-parter event, like two-night event type of thing, and it was like roundly successful. And then it just wound up in reruns on mostly on VH1. That's where I saw it a ton.
Yeah, I watched it on I think it was Tubi, the
Yeah.
Tubi TV thing, and yeah, man, the movie was good. I didn't know that this group had that much turmoil in their group, where members were in and out. Even towards the end, it was only down to like the last two original Temptations, and a lot of the other guys had gone off to like single careers and having other issues, drug related, and one member even died from like a suicide, and it was really dramatic. Now I don't know how much of this is true to the movie. I've never read or looked up their history to see if this TV show just kind of made it a little more dramatic. But man, they went through some shit, man. For the good songs that they came out with, some really classic ones. It was difficult to see that they struggled, especially early on, even where they weren't an immediate success. They really
Yeah.
struggled in their first years until Smokey Robinson started writing some of their songs, and then some other writers started coming along and started really helping the group take off. But yeah, you mentioned that you've seen it before, Andy. I'm assuming you really like it.
Yeah, I got the DVD. So initially, yeah, you see like the inner workings of the Temptations, and early on how they kind of found someone early success, but they got ripped off by that person. And like I own everything, the car, the name, all this shit, and then they went to they had a restart of like the only thing that shocked me, you always thought as the Temptations is like what, four or five guys, and I never knew it was like in and out how many people left and came back and left like from day one, right? And like the early hits with I can't think of the guy's name until then David Ruffin, and after they got rid of him, they brought in another guy. They went through a round of a lot of different like lead singers, and the whole miniseries just dwells on that, and it's just and they obviously they dramatized it some, but I think the the way they played David Ruffin, I don't know how real that shit was, but man, that fucking character to this day, I could recite some of his fucking lines in that miniseries, and it's just like Otis is always like the leader, the guy managing, and then his boy Blue, right, and then those I feel like that was the core of
Right.
that group in the movie. I
I
mean,
think so. Yeah. I think
yeah,
them two are really like the nexus of the group, and a lot of the other people that come in and out, um, they play a role in there, especially like Eddie and then
yeah,
David Ruffin, like you
Eddie,
mentioned.
yeah, Eddie,
Yeah, to
the original
me,
lead singer, yeah.
right, to me, David Ruffin came out to me like an asshole. He let his addictions really take over.
That
Um,
motherfucker can sing, then.
The guy
yeah,
from Cool Runnings played him, right?
Yeah,
Leon.
Leon.
Yeah.
yeah. He was a great singer. I mean, I did, like I mentioned, I didn't realize so many characters were in and out of this group that when I started hearing the songs, because they actually play the Temptation songs, and these people just kind of like lip sync over them. You could tell the difference when David Ruffin's singing to when Eddie's singing to when some of the other guys that came in and out of the group are singing. And before, when I would just listen to him on the radio or whatever, it just seemed like the same guy. But you really get that distinct David Ruffin voice, and he did have a great voice, and he was a great character in the movie as far as really dramatic character that he played. But yeah, to me, he came off as an asshole, and I think if he didn't have the drug issues that he had, maybe the group would have been even more successful than they were. But yeah, man, I dug the movie. I thought it was a really cool miniseries, and even Alana liked it. Yeah, I'm still a big Temptations fan, and yeah, I feel bad for Otis because he is the one that kind of kept the group together and went through the thing. I'm kind of curious because the movie's kind of set through his eyes and his perspective that I don't know if they hid some of his demons maybe because all the other characters had like a problem or something going on, and the only thing that they kind of hinted to Otis was that he was cheating on his wife, but they didn't really even go into it too much. They kind of just hinted it at the corner of it. And I wonder if somebody else was the narrator, somebody else was the consultant on the movie, would they have
Yeah,
showed Otis in a different light?
I
But
really don't know where. I think they based it off a book.
right,
I don't recall the book, but it had to be through Otis or Blue. One of those two characters wrote a book because yeah, Otis is portrayed as like this hardworking guy, right? And he always wanted the group to succeed and shit. And going back to the character Leon that played David Ruffin, like that scene where Blue and Otis go talk to him and shit, and then they're like, we'll leave you behind, and he's like, ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis. Like that fucking line just makes me fucking laugh, and then insinuate in there that he's doing like coke. But I'm like, this is like the '60s, man. Like I don't even know if coke was prevalent back in the day or they knew about it. And then like towards the end, I think in the second part, he's like in a crack house, so they were insinuating that he was doing crack.
right.
So it's just like all over the place. I just know I like how after they split up, the Eddie and David Ruffin, they went on to do like their own Temptations tour, and they had some minor hits in the '80s as they used to sing like songs together. I saw some of their music videos a couple years ago of like them singing together, and some of the songs ain't bad.
Yeah, that was the other really weird part. Just to kind of put a little pin on this Temptations thing, but yeah, that they created two separate Temptations groups. The one with David Ruffin and Eddie, and then the original characters Blue and Otis and a few other guys, and yeah, man, that they actually toured at the same time until they finally came with a reunion tour where they brought all the characters back. There was like seven guys on
Yeah,
stage singing, so really tripped out stuff that I didn't realize. Great music and a great view for any kind of Motown fan out there. The other quick things that I've been up to, man, I beat Resident Evil Village, man. I think Noel, you had played this, or I know you had mentioned that you were on kind of stint to try to beat all the Resident Evils. But yeah, I finished Resident Evil Village on PlayStation 5, and man, it was a good game. I really dug it. There were some questionable areas, like towards the end when you take over another character. It's like a little surprise thing, and that part I didn't really care for too much. It kind of gave me the vibes of the one before that, Resident Evil 6, I want to say, or whatever it was before the Village one, and that kind of gave me those vibes where the third act of the whole game was like a total flip and something different. But otherwise, I thought the game was cool. The characters, I liked them. The tall chick, and then the even the guy at the end that kind of had a voice like Nicolas Cage. I thought that was cool too. So really cool game. Really
Say
enjoyed it.
Nicolas Cage.
He had like a Nicolas Cage voice, and I googled it to see if Nicolas Cage did voice this character, but it wasn't him. But man, I don't know if the actor, they told him, "Hey man, you need to sound like Nicolas Cage because this sounds exactly like him." I don't know if you noticed that, Noel, or if you even thought that when you were listening to it.
I haven't beaten it myself, man. So I'm not sure of who you're talking about, but I've seen a lot of people impersonate Nick Cage's voice, so I'm pretty sure that's something they could do.
Right. So you have you played this game at all? You said that you haven't beaten it, but have you tried it at all? Or
So when I got it, there was this thing that it was an issue for the PC, and
okay,
I don't remember the specifics of the issue. I just know that they were working on it, and it was like some limitation within the game on the PC. So because of that, I didn't, choose to actually play it through yet. But I've heard that they've since released a patch that fixed it. So I'm gonna probably get into it pretty soon, especially now after giving it a good review.
yeah, man. I picked it up for Black Friday, so I've had it on my shelf for a while. But they finally released the PlayStation 5. It was like a month or two ago. They released the PlayStation 5, like a patch to make it 60 frames per second, 4K, and all that good stuff that PlayStation 5 does. So I finally played it, and man, it was really nice, really beautiful game. Really, the art direction was really good. It had a lot of tense suspense horror, some kind of run and gun stuff, some usual, like monster closets where they just keep coming and coming kind of thing. But it was a good mix of a bunch of stuff, and I enjoyed it. I'm glad I saved it until the patch came out, and it just looked great and played well.
Awesome, dude.
Mm.
What would
But yeah,
you give it out of 10?
out of 10, I'd probably give it like a 7.5,
Okay.
maybe an 8. But definitely if I was just judging Resident Evil game, a 7.5 or 8, that's like overall with everything else out there. But if it's just in the Resident Evil realm, it's gotta be a 9, 9.5, maybe even,
Wow.
where it's one of the stronger Resident Evil games out there. Um, but if you judge it against everything else, all the Horizons, all the God of Wars, and all the other games that are out there, yeah, it might not be as great as some of those, but it's definitely up there as far as Resident Evil games, and I really enjoyed it. I'm guessing the next game after this is probably going to be different because the ending, it's kind of like after the credits roll, they show like a last scene, and it's kind of hints to something different. And I'm thinking the next one is going to be maybe a little more not sci-fi, more uh, I don't know, like super powered kind of thing where you're not going to be like a regular human, like it's going to be something more. So uh I don't want to give too much away. It's cool.
Do you consider Resident Evil like a horror game, or like now you're saying if they're gonna try to not genre but like try to morph like some sci-fi shit or some fantasy shit to it?
Yeah, I guess not sci-fi like aliens and stuff like that. I guess I was trying to explain, like mutant powers and stuff like that, where usually Resident Evil, you're playing a human or you're playing a guy that doesn't have powers. You're just shooting all these, aliens, or not aliens, but zombies and
Mystical.
stuff. Yeah, stuff like that. But now it looks like the next step on this train of Resident Evil, because this game links to the one that was just before it. Um,
7 Biohazard.
7, yeah, Biohazard. So these two are connected together because it's the same lead character. The same protagonist is playing through both, and it looks like the next game after this, it's going into some kind of like powers and some kind of evolution from there. And even these two were really unique because it led Resident Evil into a cool direction where everything is first person. So you're in the first person view and you're shooting and interacting with the world in first person. And with before, it was a third person sort of action game where you could see your character interacting with the environment and stuff. So definitely a different perspective, different way, and it worked, man. There's a lot of people that really dug it. They felt they were immersed in the game, and I don't think this one did it, but the one before it had a VR component where you could play the entire game in VR, and I did play a portion of that. Except I get kind of motion sickness with VR, so I only played a little bit and didn't play the rest. But it was cool, man. It was a cool game. I enjoyed it. I know for any Resident Evil a fan out there, I'm sure you would enjoy it. So for all you guys that like Resident Evil, man, go out there and check it out. But I think
Yeah.
that's enough of me, man. Time to jump over to Noel, man. I see you watched Dead and Buried. What is that about? Is that a TV show or a movie? Fill us in.
This, this is a movie that came out back in 1981, so it's quite old. It's based on a book series, though, and the movie, just to kind of sum it up, this coastal town, kind of like off of like Rhode Island or Maine or something like that, like in that area. It's this coastal town that nobody ever goes to. It's Potter's Bluff, and the people that are there, they're not really friendly to tourists. Although they act friendly, they really have like homicidal tendencies. So if anybody goes to like wanders in, they get lost or they can't find their way, the people of the town, they'll welcome them in, but then they'll all like as like a almost like a cult, they'll kill them, and the people that die there have a tendency to come back to life. So it's hence the name Dead and Buried. Um, I don't want to give away too much, but it's a horror movie. It's pretty decent. The acting is believable, and there's a lot of twists that happen in the movie, twists that even I didn't predict. There's a few things that are kind of obvious, and when I was watching it, I was like, okay, so this has to be this has to be that, and I did call it correctly, but the ending threw me off. I was like, oh shit, okay, so not everything is as it seems. It's that kind of movie. But yeah, I would recommend it to anybody that likes horror. I'd give it probably a 7 out of 10. I think it's a reasonable score because for an '80s movie, it had a lot of gore, it had a lot of blood and stuff like that, and pretty cool movie.
So I didn't catch it, but is this a certain recent movie, or is this years ago came out, or?
Yeah, '81.
Oh, okay. So it's on the older side. I did
Yeah.
watch recently one of the other ones that you had brought up. Shit, I forgot the name of it now, but where you're like in a cube and you're trying to escape. It's kind of like
Yeah, it's stuck. I think the Cube is the name of it.
is that the name of it? The Cube or
Yeah.
something? Yeah. Yeah, it was another one that was kind of like sci-fi-ish, horror-ish that I watched, and that one was pretty good. So, comparing the two, how's this one stack up to the Cube? Better or about the same or worse?
Well, this one's I think a different concept. The Cube was cool too. That one more like you had to do like a mathematical thing to try to figure out where you are in the
Right.
whole thing, and it was kind of almost like a government experiment or an alien experiment on humans. Whereas Dead and Buried, um, you can kind of say it's almost like some like Resident Evil, where it's like there's a person that knows a way to bring back to life the dead, and so i-
So
yeah,
it's a
they
human intervention. It's not like Pet Cemetery where you dig the people into the ground and they just come up.
No, yeah, it's not. It's not the land that does it.
Okay.
It's a person that does it.
Oh, okay.
And there's a police officer, a sheriff, that's trying to investigate because there's murders and stuff, and it happens like every day. Somebody new dies every day, and he's just like, "What the fuck's going on in this town? Like it's a small little town. Why is everybody dying?" And so he's investigating, and the bodies go missing. And then all of a sudden, they see them pumping gas, like they work in the town, and he's just like, "What the fuck? Like, why is this guy that was once dead now living and pumping gas in this town like he's lived here for 50 years?" It's so weird, you know? And the whole time we're trying to figure it out, we're like, what the fuck's going on here? But it ends up making all the sense in the world once you get to the end of it. And there is a couple twists, and it's pretty cool, man.
So
For an
so
80s
once
movie.
so once the people come back, they're not like zombie dead. They're actually like just like nothing ever happened and they're just back to life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's like really weird.
Okay.
But
At
like,
first when you were explaining it, I figured like people are coming back to life, but they're
Sounds
like
like a zombies
zombies.
movie.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a zombie attacking people. But they're just normal. They go back to business. It's like, hey man, didn't you get hit by that car? No, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm fine. I'm working here at the school or whatever.
it, so like let me give you one scene. There's a
Okay.
scene. It starts off like this, where this guy is taking pictures on the beach, and he sees this nice looking woman that just comes up out of nowhere, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you take pictures?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm a photographer." Blah blah blah. Can you take pictures of me? He's like, "Yeah." And he starts taking pictures of her on the beach. She starts posing and shit. She gets all naked, and they start getting, looks like they're
Oh
gonna get
shit.
down to business, right? But then out of nowhere, he's surrounded by like 15, 20 people, and it's all like villagers, all the people that are there. He's just like, what the fuck? Like he's all confused, and they start taking pictures of him. Then they
Oh,
tie him up, and they tie him up to like this like rope and shit, and they put gasoline on him, and then this lady comes out of nowhere and lights him on fire, and they're just taking pictures of him burning alive. And
Jesus.
then later on in the movie, he starts pumping gas for the sheriff and his wife, and like it's so weird, bro. But it's weird in a good way. Like it's actually a decent movie. So I watched it with my cousin, and we both love horror movies. We've been watching horror movies since we were like 4 years old, right? So we've been into horror movies, and when we finished it, he specifically said, he's like, man, that was actually a really good movie. So I would give it like a 7 out of 10, which for horror movies is really high. Most
Wow.
horror movies are in that 5, 6 range. And so I would definitely give it a watch, Dead and Buried. It's worth watching. And
so
yeah.
let me ask you real quick, Noel. Now, being that it's a movie that's from the '80s, it's what 30 years old, right? So, how did you find out about this? Did someone recommend it, or it being from the '80s, did it turn you off? And you're like, this is gonna be fucking corny.
Nah, dude, I love old horror movies.
Okay.
What I like horror in general, and the newer stuff is cool. Obviously, you have technology and all that, but I feel like the older stuff has like a certain more like an element of realism.
Yes.
There's no cell phones, there's no smartphones, there's no technology that you have that gets you your answers quickly. Like it's really more, I guess, like it brings you like into this sense of danger.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, man. This actually sounds pretty intriguing. It sounds kind of like M. Shyamalan, where it's like a thriller almost more than like a horror movie where, there's like just Jason coming after you kind of thing. So it sounds kind of intriguing.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of like a mystery to it,
Right.
and one of the actors, the mortician, because the mortician plays a key role since he's constantly, trying to fix all these bodies that are all messed up. Like the guy that got burned alive, he tried to fix them to make them look good, and he got pissed off that they buried him, así nomás, because he loves putting them back together the way they were. He's like an
Shit.
artist and shit. And the guy that plays the mortician, I don't know if you ever seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I've seen the commercials, but that movie kind of freaks me out, so I've never seen it.
Well, the old school movie, I think in the 70s, the grandpa of the kid that gets the golden ticket, that's the guy that plays the mortician. So it
Mm.
Ah,
was
okay.
yeah. But yeah, no, I'd recommend it. I think it's a really good horror movie. It's not your typical horror movie where like, like I said, the zombies aren't going to be, overcoming the city or nothing, but it's got its cool moments. Um,
Awesome.
uh, Another thing I watched was the Batman. It just came out recently.
Nice.
Yeah, so Robert Pattinson. I was skeptical at first, man. I didn't know how he was gonna do, but I kept an open mind because an actor is an actor and they can act. So if they're good, they're gonna be able to do any kind of role, regardless of what they did in the past. And so I didn't want to, use because I didn't watch the whole Twilight shit, but a lot of people were like bashing on Robert Pattinson because of that. And I was like, well, I mean, there you do some movies you don't like, Everyone's got a movie they don't like. Every actor, I mean, got a movie that they didn't win, they didn't want to do, but they did it. Anyway, the Batman, probably one of the more darker versions for sure. And they said that going into it, that's what they wanted to do. So I'm glad that paid off. It's definitely darker than the Tim Burton series. It's probably up there with Dark Knight in terms of how kind of creepy and dark it is. But there was a few things I would change. Um, the Catwoman character, it just didn't vibe with what I was picturing Catwoman to be. When I remember Catwoman, I remember Michelle Pfeiffer, like a nice, sleek, tall, blonde woman, and instead we get a short-haired Zoe Kravitz, and so she did okay. I'm not gonna bash on her for acting because it was pretty decent, but I think her dynamic with Batman would have been like better played with a woman that was maybe more like what people assume Catwoman to be.
So I mean, I just a couple things. Now I read it's not an origin, right? He's just like Batman from the beginning, right?
Yeah, it's not an origin. He
Okay.
he's in year 2 of being Project Gotham or whatever, Project Batman, like year 2 of that.
Okay.
So he just started being Batman. He still has the kinks to work out. Although, all right, so if you remember the Dark Knight series,
Mm-hmm.
there were parts where Batman would get shot or hit like hard with shit, and it would hurt him bad. Like he had like bulletproof vest, but it still would hurt when he gets shot with bullets. Whereas this Batman, he takes a lot of damage, or I shouldn't say he takes a lot of damage. He takes a lot of bullets and punches and shit, but he doesn't really get hurt, which kind of shocked me. I was like, huh, like what kind of fucking armor does he have? It looked cool. Everything looked cool. It was just it kind of took me out of the realism for a second. I was like, I'm used to Batman getting fucked up, and this Batman just he didn't. Like he just kept coming forward and beating everybody up, which was cool.
Yeah, the Dark Knight ones, those were I feel like there was a lot of action in those movies compared to some of the previous incarnations from like the Tim Burton. There was like a lot of character building, and then you knew he was building up to something, and then like the ending with the Big Bang with the Joker and the Penguin and all that, and then the second one, and then the other ones were just like just fucking not garbage, but they weren't good. I don't really remember too much about them. That's why with the Dark Knight, even the Batman one or Ben Affleck one, it was it wasn't too bad. It was just they were trying to make it a different Batman. And this one, it's like it's all over the place. And the only thing that caught my eye, like it sounded interesting to me, is like it's not an origin story. So they're like, this is fucking Batman. So he's gonna be in there just. That's why I thought like, what's he gonna just be fucking kicking ass everywhere? Or what's like the build up to it, in the movie.
I thought it looked cool, the muscle car that he has as the new
Yeah.
Batmobile. I thought that looked pretty cool.
That was sick, man. There's a point in the movie where he like charges it up and it's like comes out of the darkness. So you just hear like the fucking engine revving, the fucking jet coming out, and it looks sick as hell, man. He does a couple cool chase scenes with it.
Nice.
He chases Penguin. Uh, Penguin was a cool character, bro. I had no idea it was Colin Farrell. Like they did really good on the makeup, man. I had no idea until the movie was over, and I finally found out it was Colin Farrell. I was like, what the
Interesting.
fuck?
Yeah, I didn't even know he was in the movie.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly. Like they kept it like just kind of low key, but yeah, he plays a really good Penguin, immersed in it. So I believe that was Penguin. Although it's not the typical Tim Burton one where he looks all cartoonish and shit. This one looked like just like a mafioso, like a really ugly mafioso type. And the movie is more of a detective type movie where like there's a mystery he's trying to solve and he's trying to figure out the Riddler and what he's gonna do and who he is and all that shit.
Yeah,
The
that's. I'm sorry, that was one of the things I read. That is there too many bad guys in the movie? Because usually in the past it would put one or two max, and like this one I read, there's a lot of motherfuckers in it.
So there's a grand story being told
Hmm.
and smaller stories that take up place within that. So there's multiple villains that all play a part in the grander story that involves Batman's parents,
Hmm.
or Bruce Wayne's parents, and it involves the city and all that, and it kind of explains why Gotham's descended into this corrupt cesspool essentially, and it's pretty cool, man. The character of Riddler, I think, could have been done better. I think the costume could have been done better as well. That's my criticism of that. But overall, Riddler was cool. Definitely sadistic and just fucking crazy. Like just fucking psycho, bro. And
How'd you like the 3 hour? I think it's like 3 hours, isn't it, or plus?
I had to take a piss an hour and a half into it because
Jesus.
like after an hour or so, I felt the urge and I started thinking like, man, this is a 3 hour movie. Should I try to hold it? But then I'm like, I don't want the thought of pissing in my mind while I'm watching this movie. I just want to get it over with and just enjoy the movie. So, like, I waited until like a moment where I thought it was gonna be quiet, and that moment just kept dragging. Like, it just never calmed
You
down.
just need to run and do it. As I've gotten older, when we go to the movies, even like 2 hour movies, hour and a half, there's if I buy a drink, I'm like I'm gonna drink it as late as I can into the movie, and then because I know I'm gonna have to take a piss because I can't hold it no more. And there's always like fuck, I gotta take a piss, and I'm like when now, when like all right, they're talking some bullshit, I'm gonna go run out real quick and take the piss, and what I miss, and they're like, oh no, they started a riot. Like what the fuck? Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
why? Well, you missed it when they were talking about it and shit. Like damn it.
There was a funeral scene and there was like a church, right? And there, I'm thinking, oh yeah, it's gonna be just a typical funeral. Let me go take a piss right now. And then I'm like, I see shit's going down, and I'm like, holy fuck! Like it's just a big action scene out of nowhere. I'm like, damn, man.
Hey, speaking of a little preemptive to the article that we're going to talk about, now that COVID's not in the news, how was the theater? Was it filled? Was there a lot of people, or now
You
that
know,
people aren't talking about COVID anymore and COVID's like over and people are like back to normal?
it's hard to tell because I wasn't really taking a big look, but it looked full to me. Not like 100%, but at least 75%. Like
Okay.
it was pretty full. But then again, I didn't go late. I went like Saturday at like 3, so maybe Saturday night it would have been more full. I'm not sure, but the AMC theaters, we didn't even have to have a mask on. I walked in. I walked in with a mask. I was meeting up with my cousin, and we were gonna watch the movie. He had bought the tickets, and then I come in with a mask. He doesn't have one. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, do we not need it? He's like, I don't know. I just didn't come in with one. If they tell me, I'll just fucking put it on. But I'm like, all right. I took it off. We walked in, no issue. Yeah, it was good. So yeah,
Cool,
Yeah.
man.
back to normal, man. But yeah, that's pretty much it for what's recent. Let's move it over to Andy now. It looks like here you got some news about Triple H from WWE retiring. And I never thought that day would come.
Yeah, I mean, as when we recorded, it broke earlier in the week. He's been kind of MIA for a while, and there was not rumors. I mean, everybody knew that something was up because the reports started trickling out. He has some type of health scare, and but they never really said what it was. It come out he was having heart issues because apparently heart disease really runs big in his family, and this generally he's been, I mean, what we see visually, he looks in great shape, and
Steroids though, man. I don't
yeah,
know
he
if
did confirm he has, they call it athlete's heart, where your heart enlarges a little bit. So to me, usually I thought, well, that's because he's juicing, right? Allegedly. I mean, I don't know, but that's
yeah.
was my first instinct. But yeah, he was, something about his heart wasn't pumping a lot of blood, and then they found something. They found out one of the veins was completely clogged, and then they did an MRI and they found out one of his like this other vein that acts as a backup was like clogged about 50 or something. He gave out some percentages, so he was like in real danger of heart attack or something. And
Shit.
uh, he was on Stephen A. Smith show on ESPN. They uploaded the whole interview. I think yesterday. I saw it yesterday after late last night or something. But yeah, pretty much he said his in ring career is over, so he's going to be moving more to an executive role in the company. But he's still not 100%. So I mean, to me, he looked like normal. He didn't look pale or skinny or any of that shit. He just looked like Triple H. But he also did mention they put a defibrillator in him, and there was talks that he was going to do something at this WrestleMania at the time of this recording. It's in a week, but all that got scrapped when they found out about his heart disease.
Yeah,
It's tough.
I know with Austin coming back, I know there was a lot of buzz, Triple H, and even this Cody Rhodes thing with
Yeah.
Cody come in and fight Triple H, and it kind of be, since there was kind of some turmoil there since he broke like his throne and stuff like that. So I was kind of excited to see if Triple H would come back for one more match against Cody, which he every now and then he does come back like on a WrestleMania kind of one special event kind of thing. But yeah, man, I was a big Triple H fan. Really sad to see that his health issues caught up to him. Probably steroids or maybe just having that boost of testosterone forever, because he's always been a really jack guy to the point where maybe it counter-affected and gave him some heart issues. But
So
yeah,
yeah,
Triple H retires, and then even Hogan,
yeah,
I think just recently announced that he's never going to retire again or never going to wrestle again as well.
yeah. I mean, I that was another thing I was going to bring it up. I mean, Hogan is definitely done. He says his back can't handle it or something, but he's pretty much done. Never say never, right? But yeah, I mean, he did mention that the last SummerSlam was his last match, and then that's when he felt really tired. He also admitted he did have COVID. I don't know if that ever they said anything. So when he got back, he just said that he always felt like he was winded when he was doing stuff, and then he started feeling tired again, and then he got another COVID test, and it showed that he had COVID, but they found out he had pneumonia, and that started this whole cycle of last year. And I think what he's getting himself taken care of, WWE has gone corporate wise, and a lot of their programming, they've gone everything that he kind of helped design it. Like they went away from it with NXT and the 205 Live, the cruiserweight stuff, and them letting go a ton of people, which he was like a really uh, help bring into the company, and they just let him go. And this all kind of helped him when he was sick and trying to get himself healthy. So I'm just wondering when he comes back corporately and being an executive, what is he gonna do? I'm like, because everything he's kind of done got built out with his biggest baby was NXT, and then Vince came in there and put it NXT 2.0 and fired people, and people were kind of shitting on it. They stopped the takeover show and the premium shows or the pay-per-views or whatever. But yeah, there was and then they let a lot of his friends go, like William Regal and all this other stuff, people that were really important in that side of and that brand go. So I'm wondering what exactly his role is going to be. I think they're going to have him as like a talent scout. That's what he kind of hinted at, signing new wrestlers, but it has to be kind of demoralizing being such a big part of that. Now they got you doing that.
Well, I heard that they were, because he wanted to take over the company once Vince is done, but I heard
Yeah.
that Vince is moving away from that to maybe somebody else will take over.
Yeah, this I can't think of the guy, a guy. He's running the day to day, and he's the one that kind of spearheaded. Like, yes, you have the network, but you don't understand the content is what you need, and you have a ton of it, and we can still sell it. So that's why you started seeing them selling content with partnering up with A&E. They had another big deal where they're gonna get paid upfront money to have first run like the treasure show, which I kind of like, the biographies and some other content, and A&E gets the first crack at it, and before it goes on to the network. I think the network is like the backup, and there's rumors that they're negotiating with after this deal with their television rights, that Amazon and Peacock and like all these streaming, Netflix, they're all talking to them, and they're expecting a big payday to get those rights to Raw, for Raw, and potentially even SmackDown. So that's how they're making their money now. It's the TV rights, and selling all that content to anybody, to the highest bidder, before they put it on the network.
Yeah, too bad, man. I really enjoyed Triple H during his whole rise in the WWE. I was a big Triple H fan, and the whole Attitude Era. I really enjoyed it, but yeah, man, he's got to take care of his health if he wants to be together for his family.
I mean, the Triple H, the character on TV, I don't think it was too much different from Triple H in the backstage politics. He was integral in a lot of things in wrestling, lore about him. What they call burying people, shitting on people and certain wrestlers. He was involved deeply, and it came out, with the Montreal screw job. Um, the whole thing with Stephanie getting married to her. There's a lot of controversy with that, and then him burying certain wrestlers. The biggest one in recent time was CM Punk, when he did his podcast saying, like, to Triple H, him over talking, him and Shawn Michaels shitting on them, shitting on CM Punk and other wrestlers. So he's mired in controversy too. But the character, the cerebral assassin, I mean, that's probably never going to change, So yeah, hopefully he gets better. Obviously, he's always the Click. When he was part of the Click with Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and all that, and we the tragic news with what happened recently with Scott Hall's passing, and the way he died. I mean, there was rumors, but now it's been kind of confirmed. Exactly. I mean, we know he died in the hospital, but what led up to that and his relapse and all that, which was um, very disturbing to hear. I mean, I didn't know. I thought he was all right because he was out of the picture, but people come out and said during COVID, with the initial shutdown, like, he struggled immensely, to not be able to talk to people, and he was at his house holed up and all that. Yeah, so it's really, really sad and depressing.
Yeah.
But
That's the life of a wrestler, man. It's very seldom like really happy and cheerful, dude.
yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's I like I love wrestling. I watched it with my dad all the time, and as a child, the way I watched it and all that, and and then, like, when people die, like, I always thought, like, these people are bigger than life, and then you read some of the stuff of what happened, and the way they die, or that's why they always say don't meet your heroes, because you get disappointed. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But they put on a show. You feel like you know them, and it is what it is. And but they've brought a lot out. They made a lot of people happy over the years. And Triple H too. Like I said, wrestling wise, what you see on TV is not real life. Even though you think it's real life, it's 90% of it's is that they say a work. So but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna still I don't watch as much wrestling as I used to. I sneak in once in a while, and some of it now I'm just like, I don't get some of this shit. I'm like JR. It's like, what the fuck, they doing all this crazy shit, like, slow it the fuck down. But that's pretty much it. Like, let us know what you guys think about the retirement, or what, if you're a Triple H fan or a wrestling fan at all, at ffnquestions@gmail.com. The only other thing I want to talk about, which started with Danny and this Buffalo chicken tenders at Culver's. I hate to say it, Danny, you got me involved in this Twitter world of Culver's Buffalo chicken tenders. Like, I get all these updates now on my fucking feed, and it's just fucking hilarious, dude. And I didn't know. I mean, I like them. I know you always ask, but goddamn, there's a lot of people that are missing this shit.
Yeah, dude, it's
Right.
fucking good food, man.
Yeah, man. I miss it, man. To me, the buffalo chicken tenders are about as good as or better than the ones from Denny's. Denny's
Oh,
chicken tenders, those are awesome chicken tenders, man. And then the buffalo ones, where they like douse it in buffalo sauce, those were awesome. And those are missing off the menu now too. They only do chicken tenders where they give you buffalo dipping sauce. And
right.
at Denny's, and then they're doing the same at Culver's where you can get it and then they give you like a side of Tabasco sauce and you dip it into
Yes.
Tabasco sauce.
So
So
that's the thing. I see all these memes and people like, I don't want your fucking hot sauce or anything. Like, just bring them back. And I'm like in this Twitter verse of buffalo chicken tenders, and I'm shocked how many people tweet about it, how many people post memes about it. And I'm just like, fucking Dan, he got me in this. And some of this shit just makes me laugh so much because there's a guy on there, he keeps track of how many days it's been not off the menu or since it's not been available. He posted the other day, it's like, it's been 300 plus days. Like, this is fucking unreal. We're going to get close to a year. And then there's all these people saying it's coming back, all these insiders, and here we are, and it's not out yet. So, like, and people chime in and like, oh, my buddy is a GM, and he said they just signed a contract, like, oh, this bullshit. And I'm like, you read all these posts, and I'm just like, man, and people, and it gets people talking. So that's why I'm saying, like, this shit's unreal. And now, and if you put a comment on there or anything, people, you start interacting with people. And I just didn't. I guess I didn't understand the. I mean, I like them, but like, goddamn, a lot of people miss this shit, and I'm just. I guess I'm shocked to see how many people miss this stuff. This buffalo chicken tenders, and Culver's just remains silent. And people, I tweeted at them, and they're like, yeah, it's unavailable for right now, but we got other tenders, and
Did
people
they even
started.
explain like
No,
why?
they have never explained. That's the knock. A lot of people like they never explain why, or they always say it's unavailable. And then that's why I told them in my when I tweeted at them, like, it's not even on the menu no more. So to me, that means it's been removed. And they're like, but we have other stuff to buy. And people are like, oh, Andy, you're never gonna see this shit again. And like, welcome to this club. And the guy's like, yeah, look at my calendar here. We're pushing like 270 days. It's gonna be a year pretty soon, and it's just like this whole Twitterverse of just people missing buffalo chicken tenders from there. And I know Danny, we would go out to lunch when the pandemic was really down, and you're like, man, let's go see that guy. I'm like, fucking Dan, you're gonna get disappointed. Like, I know we've talked about it in the past, and the guy's like, well, there's a chicken shortage, or whatever the fuck he told you. I don't even remember now.
yeah, that's what
Doesn't
he
even make
said.
sense.
There was a chicken, and I'm like, well, how come you got regular chicken tenders?
Exactly.
Yes.
To me, I think I know what the problem is. I work in a company that we fabricate things, and we're constantly looking to how do we cost saves and stuff like that. And the way you do it is by you simplify things. You take away, you create one product that is that you can convert into other things. So I think they concentrated on just the generic chicken tender and created these dipping sauces to give you the other flavors. So instead of carrying two different chicken tenders and managing that, now you just manage one chicken tender and you just have to supply all the dipping sauces to make them into these other flavors. So that would be my guess as to why they did this. It's a cost saving thing. It's even completely off the menu. Before the slot was still on the menu and it just said out.
Yeah.
Now they totally took it off. It's not even a number anymore, and it's just the generic chicken tenders, and they don't even offer or even display the buffalo one anymore. The last time I was in there.
So before moving on, Dan, I just want to confirm you have tried them in the past, right? Like, you're not like, I want to try them because I've had them in the past. I just want to confirm you've had them.
The buffalo ones?
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
Okay.
Those were
Okay.
great. Yeah, those I used to get ranch dipping sauce, and man, it just had an awesome flavor. That buffalo sauce, it was just
Wait,
great.
It's like a dry rub though, because
Yeah,
it's not like a sauce. It's
it's in
Yeah,
the
more
yeah,
breading.
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's something in the breading that is like integrated into the tender,
yeah.
where it's not like saucy where you're like jacking up your hands and you gotta kind of get like 1,000 napkins.
No,
But
That's what I loved about it, because I like that dry, tender. It's like it's got like the spices on the breading. I love that versus
right, I
versus like
I
the saucy.
I miss it, but I like this Tabasco one too, man. Where you dip it into the Tabasco sauce. That's not that bad, man. Tabasco sauce has an awesome flavor too.
that's not a
You know what
viable
you should
solution,
try?
man.
You should try Dave's Hot Chicken. It's this new place that
Oh, I
opened up, I
saw
think,
that.
in Franklin Park, I think.
Yeah, how is that?
I haven't tried it, but
Oh,
I'm just
yeah.
saying it's worth trying out. Dave's Hot Chicken.
Gonna have to go check it out.
It's really simple. It's just chicken and fries and mac and cheese or some shit. Like really simple menu.
Nice.
With that being said, guys, let us know what you guys, if you guys miss it, at ffnquestions@gmail.com. But this hot topic discussion is gonna lead us into our article of the week. So another hot topic discussion is, with the war with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Just like anything, people get news from all sorts of different platforms. I don't know if anybody watches regular news. I think Danny still watches like regular news. I read a bunch of articles and I use a lot of different platforms that I trust, but I don't know when's the last time I sat down and watched any type of news TV. But the reason I'm bringing this up, this one caught my eye. The White House is briefing TikTok stars about the war in Ukraine. So it says, with millions of getting their information about the war from that platform, the administration wants to get its message to its top content creators. On Thursday afternoon, 30 TikTok stars gathered on a Zoom call to receive key information about the war unfolding in Ukraine. Jen Psaki briefed the influencers about United States strategic goals in the region and answered questions on distributing aid to Ukrainians, working with NATO, and how the United States react if Russians use nuclear weapons, which I found kind of weird. They go, with the crisis in Ukraine escalate, millions have turned to TikTok for information on what's happening there in real time. Videos offered some first glimpses of the Russian invasion. So the White House has been closely watching TikTok's rise as a dominant news source, leading to its decision to approach the group's platform's most influential people on there. They worked with a group called Generation Z for Change, advocacy group, to help identify top content creators on the platform. And they orchestrated the briefing aimed at answering questions about the conflict and its role, the United States' role in it. So, I mean, the article goes and names some people, but some of the TikTokers did have some criticisms about the briefing, and basically they said they really just like dumbed it down for you, like, oh, Russia bad, US good, Ukraine good. Like, that was one of the critiques. It was like, and some people asked like really hard questions, and they just didn't really give them direct answers. So I don't know. I mean, first of all, I don't even have TikTok. I don't know if
Nah,
Danny or you have it, Noel.
nah, dude, I don't mess with that garbage.
No, I
So
don't got it.
yeah, exactly. In TikTok, I know it's a really popular platform, and all I know of it is people post like 60-second clips of just like dumb shit happening. Um, I'm not criticizing people who go there to get news for it, but
I do.
Yeah, I do too, man.
so that's why I'm like,
It's like going to Clown University to get like real
Yeah,
like scientific information.
I
yeah,
heard in a presser that Grinder is gonna start having news feeds there. So while you're searching for your potential mate or somebody to just jack it with, you could get your news there too, man. Yeah, great place for news. Check it out. Grinder news broadcast. It's coming up. It's like so dumb, Andy. Not to validate Trump, but he wanted to shut this program down because it is owned by China, dude. It is
Mhm.
owned by an outside firm that is not here in the United States, so you can't control shit on there. Now, granted, whatever, let's say the program exists and it's out there, free market, cool. Let's leave it out there. But this is where people are getting their news. Even one of these guys, he mentions it. Let me find it here. Oh yeah, uh, this TikToker, Kahili Greeny. People in my generation get all the information from TikTok. He said it's the first place we search for new topics and learn about things. That is acidine, dude. Now, granted, it's very difficult. I started thinking about this. I'm like, it's difficult to where do you go to get news? You mentioned it yourself, Andy. You don't even watch the news anymore. You read these articles. You try to stay educated best you can. I don't know where it even goes sometimes. I mentioned it podcasts ago where there was an event that happened. I don't even recall what it was. And I watched it on a left media news broadcast, and then I watched it on a right hand news media broadcast. And they both had different views. They made the bad guy look different on one of them and the bad guy different on the other one. So I get it, man. The news is very difficult. It's very politicized. It's not facts anymore, where here are the facts, you come up with your decision anymore. So it is very difficult, and I understand it. I understand that it's difficult to go somewhere and get that true news.
So
So I don't know what the answer is.
so to me, when I see this, like it's definitely aimed at younger people, right? Because I don't think Generation X, maybe some millennials are on here, but it's really aimed at really people. I'm guessing like people in high school, maybe they're going into college, so like 16 to 20 something, 25.
Even
But
younger, Junior wants TikTok, and I told him he can't have it. I'm like,
yeah,
you're not getting that garbage."
that's what I'm saying. They're targeting somebody. They're targeting younger people, and I was kind of like, damn, like so, like I like you. I have uh, as I'm not. I like Twitter. It's just I see a lot of point of views. That's why I use it a lot. Both my views, left, right, whatever. But it gets a little crazy with all the fact checking bullshit, and you do see a bias, and you do see some stuff that's not accurate, and they try to make it like it is. But even on this whole invasion, yes, what Russia did was bad, but I'm still, Ukraine's fighting for their whatever they're trying to stave off this occupation, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I still don't understand. Uh, Ukraine went to NATO, and NATO's just like, well, we don't know. Like, we'll help you, but we're not going to be involved. And it just they keep saying NATO, 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 and I'm just like, what the fuck does NATO got to do with this? You basically told Ukraine you're not going to be in NATO, so fuck off. But yet they're like so much involved, and that's like, I guess that's what I'm trying to understand. I guess I got to look it up on TikTok. They explained it to these kids or something.
Right. To
Like,
me, I don't even get the NATO thing. I I know Trump pushed to get away from a lot of these groups that don't really do anything. They just get together, waste money, and talk, and they don't. There's really no action to it. Now, if Ukraine was coming out and NATO was such a powerful force as they claim to be, how come they're not doing anything about it? These guys have been crying to make it a fly no fly zone, and they won't do it. Now, I get that they keep trying to ask the United States to do it, but it's not the United States job to police the entire world. It's not the US's job to go over there and dictate to them how it should
right.
be. We got our own problems over here, man. We can't go over there and tell them, no, you need to do this and you need to do that. That's not our job, man. So I don't get it, man.
So yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Going back to the where you get your information and where you get your news. I understand that's evolving now, especially in this environment, how the world's changed with technology. But the first thing I know, I'm not gonna search for news on TikTok. I go on like when I search stuff, like especially like on YouTube and all that. I look at some news things and all that, but usually I just like I'm watching like paranormal shit, cryptozoology shit. Like I want to see videos of fucking Bigfoot just you know in the fucking forest somewhere and trying to is this really Bigfoot and shit like that. That's where I go for my news sources is YouTube. And now, and maybe I should reach TikTok and maybe people. Uh, have better videos of fucking Bigfoot or some shit. I saw one guy in Brazil said he caught a fucking werewolf trying to get into his house. And so I was just like, damn, man, like this is news to me, but I don't think I want to get my news on real world shit from TikTok or any type of 60-second video clip platform, you know?
This definitely doesn't seem reliable going those outlets, but YouTube, like you said, there are some cool channels where people do cover the news, and they what I like about YouTube for news stuff is that they'll give you their opinion, but they'll also show you the article that they're getting it from and the information from there. So it's not like it's them trying to summarize everything and tell you what they think you should think. It's them telling you what the facts are and what they think about the facts. So it's kind of cool. I listen to a few YouTubers for like news and stuff, but it's mainly more for like pop culture news.
Yeah,
I,
like look what they did to Joe Rogan. I'm not saying he's a news outlet. He just talked to people and they
Mhm.
just attacked him like the big news media and all this and said it was in misinformation, these are racist and like it's just like it's fucking crazy and like as soon as they're like you're helpful to us until you're not, they start attacking you. And everybody loved Joe Rogan until like he's like I didn't do this or I took this and all hell broke loose on him. They just decided like let's fuck him up, and and they're banning people right and left because of certain narratives that they're trying to push. That you know, uh, there's no voice, no opposition voice, even if it's crazy. And they do, they're like, well, this is kind of bullshit, and let me show you why. You know that when you go away from that narrative that they're pushing.
let me tell you what the problem is, Andy. To me, the problem is too many people, if they see it on the internet, hey man, it must be true. It must be the fact. And that's just not the case, man. Just because it's on the internet, here on Free For, we got three guys from Chicago giving opinions, but we might be wrong. There might be shit that we say that is incorrect. We're just giving our opinions and our thoughts. Just because you hear it or see it on the internet, it doesn't mean that it's 100% correct, especially something like Joe Rogan's show, that it is his opinion. He's got 1,000 different perspectives from different people coming in. And that's what makes his show popular is that he got people from all sorts of lives coming in and saying their story. So, yes, is there some people that are quacks and say that the earth is flat? Well, guess what? The earth is not flat. So, obviously, this guy is giving out misinformation saying that the earth is flat. But you have to have some kind of intelligence to be able to decipher incorrect from correct or be able to search. Now, I guess one of the last things I want to say is that I did like the Washington Post that you put. Not because I agree with the TikTok thing, but I thought the article put it together fairly well, where they gave you a lot of facts. It didn't really push the narrative into one direction and kind of just give you, here's some TikTokers that liked it, here's some TikTokers that didn't, and here are the facts of what the White House did. And I like stuff like that. I like stuff where give me the facts and let me figure out what I believe on it.
Yeah, there was just before we wrap it up here, there was Trump was on a podcast that's like really popular on YouTube. It's a video format, and they took it down. And the article kind of talks about it about disinformation, and I'm just like, okay, but they don't really say what the disinformation's about, and that's the problem. People don't want um I guess the platforms are like, oh, don't hear this noise, we're gonna shut it out. But how are you gonna learn or prove them wrong or go bit by bit? He said this is what's going on, or disprove it. They just like, let's just take it down. And that's the whole thing I get with what's going on now, especially in journalism. And I feel like the rules are so like blurry. People are pushing some of their opinions on it, and they mask it as journalism, and that has really been going on a lot in like the last 20 years.
Yeah, get your news from Elon Musk's new social media that he's launching. He just put it in some article like yesterday that he's creating something to counteract Twitter and be like an alternative to Twitter. So be on the lookout for that for your news.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, American news. I'm not saying like the other worlds is perfect. It just doesn't. Man, it's like, as much as I hate to, it's like bought and paid for, and they all have agendas. And the Washington Post is not. It's up there as like one of the most respected, newspapers, but they in the past have fucked up. I don't want to
Right.
say they lied. They made errors, but I just know that the Post is it's owned by Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, and for a while he attacked a lot of that. The paper attacked, or whatever, the newspaper attacked a lot of conservative people, and he really went hard after Trump. After Trump called him out, and so that's like another thing, and it is what it is. But yeah, the overall, like, yeah, the article wasn't too one-sided. I'll give you that. It's just that I just find out how they put Trump on everything now, and like again, yeah, Trump was on here and they got banned for disinformation. It's like, okay, and then it's just like this shit doesn't like made sense to me, but like it wasn't even on TikTok; it was on goddamn YouTube. So I don't know. And
What about the Nelk Boys interview that got pulled?
which one was that one?
Trump had an interview on the podcast for the Nelk Boys.
Yeah, that one with the two guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that was on YouTube that got pulled for that. The article goes into it at the end, and they just throw like this 2-word paragraph, like, I got pulled for disinformation, and I'm like, that's it. And I'm just like, well, what the fuck does this have to do with TikTok? And it's just like a narrative. Again, the conspiracy, is like just the shit that they're trying to push.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, it's difficult. I agree with that. It's difficult to find things. Difficult for you and me to find things out there to really put yourself behind. But something that you could put yourself behind, Freeform Network, man. We're the ones that are going to steer you the right way. But on that, we'd like to thank you all for listening. Remember to follow Freeform Network on Facebook and Twitter at Freeform Network. Visit our webpage, freeformnetwork.podbean.com. There you could stay up tuned with all the different places that we offer for distributing our podcast, all our different links, all our stuff in the past that we've uploaded. Go in there, hit that like and subscribe on whatever you're using to broadcast this. But yeah, for Freeform Radio, my name is Daniel. We got Andy.
It's all good, Andy, and we'll talk to you next time.
And we got Noel.
Hey, thanks for joining us, and try to stay informed, just not from TikTok.
For sure. And yeah, again, this is Daniel. I'd like to thank you all for listening. You all have a great day and a great week.
That was cool, Dad.